one of the things we talked to the team about over the span of the week was, you're really left now with the best 16 teams in the country. I think any one of those teams could have a great run. We had a lot of respect for Richmond. They do a great job on offense. The quarterback has an excellent arm. They've been effective running the ball all season. They have a lot of weapons to throw to. From a defensive perspective, they've done a good job all season. They're nationally ranked offensively and defensively. They've always been sound with regard to their special teams. Their offense is the number one team in the country in terms of third down and fourth down conversions. I think that's kind of pretty special. From our perspective, I was pleased with what we did in terms of special teams. I was pleased with what we did from a defensive perspective across the board. I'm glad we had a chance to give a lot of guys some work in the fourth quarter, and that experience is always going to help us down the road, whether it's in a week or so or whether it's next year. That always helps. I think from an offensive perspective, I think we need to be a little bit more consistent in terms of our ability getting inside the red zone and making sure we score touchdowns. I think we kind of made up for that in the second quarter, and we certainly made up for that in the third quarter. And then a lot of guys had the opportunity to play in terms of the fourth quarter. So I was pleased across the board with our effort. I thought we did a good job across the board. And at this time of year, to be able to kind of win the play is always a special thing. I know we represent the Big South, and the Big South over the span of the season was rated the second toughest conference in the country. The Colonial Conference is a great one, and they always play well. They always send a lot of guys to the playoff, but certainly I think we represented, first of all, our school, and secondly, our conference, I thought, very well today.
Coach, talk about the running effort. Was it coming into this game, was that kind of a pinpoint thing that you had, that you wanted to run the ball more, or is it something you saw throughout the game that dictated that you guys had a chance to run the ball more?
It's more something, if you thought we wanted to run the ball more, there were only 2 running calls in the first 7 or 8, 9 plays. So that's not the way we begin. The way we begin each game is, the objective is to try to be balanced, and then depending on what we think they're giving us, that's what we try to take advantage of. So that was the objective as far as today goes. Depending on how many guys they had in the box, kind of normally told us, do we want to throw the ball a little bit more, do we want to run the ball a little bit more, but we wanted to be able to take advantage of that once we kind of felt they were giving us something. But that was determined as we went through the game.
Coach, about the pressure you put on Strauss in terms of the blitzing, it seemed like you sort of kept him off balance.
Well, we think he's an excellent quarterback, and the more time you give him in terms of, as far as watching him and studying him over the span of the season, the more time you give him, he's got the ability to pinpoint the balls. He showed that today. He's shown that all season. So he also has a very quick release, and he has good protection the majority of the time. So we didn't anticipate that we would necessarily get to him, but we thought we could force him to throw the ball quickly, and we thought then we could be effective in our coverage for that length of time. So the objective wasn't necessarily to try to get to him. The objective was to make sure that he didn't have too much time to throw. And if you notice, again, while we may not have gotten to him much, his ability to be able to get rid of the ball, he was throwing the ball most of the time sooner than he would have preferred, and that was the objective.
You had 2 weeks to move on from that last loss and learn from it and process it. What did the guys show you today with their focus, with their just motivation, determination today?
I think, Ryan, the focus today, number one, I expect focus, motivation, determination from our guys, period. Every time, every game, all the time. And I think it was great that we had a little break over Thanksgiving. It was good for the guys. It was good for the coaches. It was good for our people in operations. It was a nice break. When we come back on Sunday, we had 4 very good days of practice over the span of the week. So we all felt we were ready to go when we went into the game, and that was the case. But we expect that from our guys. If we get a break, if we don't get a break, if we've got 2 days to practice, we've got 10 days to practice, that's what we expect that from our guys. It's the whole thing about standing on your own 2 feet. It's the whole thing about the mission.
Joe, Richmond said that they felt like between the first and second half, you guys were able to kind of see where you could run the football coming out of halftime, and that was a big reason why you guys were successful running football. Was it something you saw at halftime there that you guys were able to adjust?
Well, Brandon, I think that was pretty much the essence of your first question. So we went in, and as we saw what they were able to give us, we were able to take advantage of that. I thought Alex wound up doing a good job a couple times with checks. When he saw what they were doing with regards to the coverage, he helped us as far as the actual checks themselves go. But I felt pretty good about, as we developed a little bit more of a rhythm, and as we felt a little bit more comfortable about some of the things that they give us, we were able to take advantage of that.
Just take us through the decision to go right back to Catherine and what he showed you by bouncing back with those 2 field goals.
I thought that was easy. We thought it was easy, that Ryan deserved the opportunity to have the job. So he had the job, but he missed the field goal that he's supposed to make. Alex has been a 3-year starter. He had a bad game a couple of weeks ago. He deserved to have Ryan get the opportunity today. But when Ryan missed it, we wanted to go right back to Alex. That was the plan going in. That's what happened. And I'm certainly pleased with the way Alex played. Right, catcher?
What did you think of Ross's game overall?
I don't think Alex was as sharp as what he normally is throwing the ball. I think his timing was a little bit off. I thought he was sharp in terms of the decisions that he was making as far as checks go. I thought he did a good job running the ball. But I don't think he was quite as sharp as what he normally is. But we were still able to move the ball and be effective doing that. So I was pleased with that. I was certainly pleased with what his leadership was as far as running the offense.
He's put himself in a position where basically every game he plays for the rest of his career, he's going to break another record, be it school or conference. What does that mean to you that that's the quarterback you have playing for you?
Well, the fact that he's going to break a record has an awful lot to do with everybody else around him. You know, Alex is going to come up here in a little while, ask him that question. I think that's probably what he's going to wind up saying. And I think what happens is, you know, I think what winds up happening, it's not so much the record. I think it's what the offense winds up doing. So the offense is getting a lot better support from the defense this year, for example, than what we did a year ago. I think the offense has been consistent. When the offense is consistent, moving the ball, and when we convert, I think we're an offense to be reckoned with. He's the leader of the offense. He's the leader of that offense. So I think the records kind of speak for themselves, but I think the records, when Alex is evaluated, I think the way he runs the offense and the success of the offense is the way he normally gets evaluated. Not just because he can throw an extra few passes and have a few extra yards. That's not it. It's more the way he executes and the way he runs the offense.
You hadn't used the 2-point conversion bag of tricks all that much this season, but you went to it twice today. What was the motivation on those two scenarios?
How did we do today on those, by the way?
Very well.
Thank you.
Exceedingly well.
Yeah, you see what happens when you save them for a little while? We practice those every day, Ryan. I mean, you come to a lot of practice, you see us do that. So we practice those every day. So we're prepared to do that all the time. We wanted to be a little bit more aggressive doing it today, and that was the case, and that paid off.
Coach, you talked about your defense, clearly very good on third down conversions, holding Richmond to 2 out of 13. That's pretty solid numbers. Big reason why you guys were victorious today.
Well, I think Clayton Carl and our entire defensive staff, I thought we had a very, very sound, good game plan. I thought that we were able to execute. Quinn Backus, our secondary, our defensive line, I thought we did a good job. We did a good job, I think, executing that plan, and I think it was a good, sound plan. I want to emphasize this idea because this is important. This was the #1 team in the country for 3rd and 4th down conversion. And you said, what were the stats, 2 for 13?
2 of 13.
I'm pretty proud of that, and our guys should be as well. So I couldn't be proud of the defense in terms of being able to have that type of execution against a team that was the best in the country and what they did this year. I thought we did a pretty good job with that. I wasn't aware we were 2 for 13, but that's pretty good. I'll take that.
Talk just a little bit about advancing to the quarterfinals, what that means to this program to be going there again.
Well, no, I think as far as the program goes, Kelsey, we talked about our mission, put a team on the field all Coast was going to be proud of. For us to get a bye, for us to get past the second round, for us to get to the quarterfinals, it's a big deal. It was a real big deal. But at the end of the day, that big deal happens because of the body of work that we've kind of worked on, the body of work that we've been able to produce over the span of not just this year, but frankly over the span of the last 3 years. So we're not going to think too much about next week today, but we're going to think about next week tomorrow. We'll figure out who we're playing, and then we'll start to get to work as far as that goes. But as far as today goes, in the next 18 hours or so, we're going to enjoy this one.
Back, just talk a little bit about defense. I'm sure you heard the stats there. You guys held them 2 of 13 on 3rd down against one of the top teams in the program and in the country. Talk a little bit about what you saw out there and going into this game, what you guys thought you'd be able to take care of.
Overall, on the defense, we were all focused on what we needed to do, go out and execute. We knew coming into the game that they were very efficient on offense. They could hurt us in short yardage, 3rd down, the conversion, and like Coach said, with them being a #1 team, the 3rd down efficiency, we just felt like, hey, we got to step up to the challenge, and our coach did a good job of knowing their plays, putting us in the right defense to go out and execute. And overall, we did a great job of that.
Coming off that loss, how much did it mean to not just win, but to make a statement today and win big and convincingly?
It's just everybody, you know, we let that loss, we put it behind us, and we had 2 weeks to get right and come out and play against Richmond. So we were motivated, you know, with the loss to Liberty. And I think with that loss, it made everybody more motivated to go out and perform better than the previous game.
Craig, how does it feel to not only be back on the field, but have such a big game today?
You know, it's an exciting feeling. The tight ends coach, Coach Jones, he always, every meeting we go to, he says, every day is a great day to make and you always have an opportunity. And so, I mean, going into the game, there were some things that we had seen where I had opportunities and I was trying to make the best of it.
That was your first career touchdown. Take us through that catch. It was kind of a highlight catch.
There was a double move route, and I came off the previous drive, and I told Coach P that the safeties were just coming down hard, and he goes, "All right, well, make a play." And that's what I knew. I was like, all right, it's my chance. It's my opportunity. And so I just went up, and every day we always practice high point football, so that's what I did.
For a guy who's been in 3 years to the program to finally get in the end zone for the first time, is that a special moment for you?
It is, but then again, that's not what it's about. If I can spring a block for somebody else, you know, that means just as much to me. So.
Mr. Catron, take us through your day today and getting put back in there. And that first field goal, you had a lot of power behind it. It looked like you were trying to not get through the net.
I mean, earlier in the week, they named Ryan the starter, and you know, all week long, you know, I just kept pushing Ryan because we were always competing. We charted every single day, kickoffs, punts, and field goals, and you know, I was always behind him. I was kind of trying to relax him a little bit before the game and talk to him a little bit before in the locker room, and then you know, it didn't work out for him, and you know, it was my opportunity to go up and just to get back on the field and kind of get my legs back underneath me. Felt real good and came off my foot real well and just hit it like I need to hit it.
How satisfying was it to go 2 for 2 today?
I mean, it's a great feeling, but I mean, you know, playoff football, you know, every play matters, every point matters. So, you know, if Alex Ross and them in the offense don't get in the end zone, you know, it's got to be up to me or Ryan to, you know, put it through the uprights and just, you know, do what we can, do our part for the team.
Was it tough for you early in the week, though, thinking that you weren't going to be the guy this week? And
I mean, at first, you know, I mean, you're going to be a little bummed out about it, but, you know, I could have been sour about it and, you know, kind of kept to myself. But, you know, Ryan's the guy. I was pushing him, you know, talking him up, encouraging him, you know, because, you know, this is my last year playing. He's going to be the guy next year. So we just, you know, every day we're competing, constantly competing. So that's what makes a better kicker.
Alex, do you feel like you're a matchup problem for opposing defenses?
I feel like if we're in the right play, then yes, definitely we're a matchup problem. And I think for me, it's being able to get the receivers the balls and being able to see what coverage they're in and getting us into the right play. I was subpar today, 22 of 41. I should have played better. There was a lot of things that we can do better as an offense. A lot of miscommunication where guys aren't where they're supposed to be. A lot of balls where I'm a yard off, you know. So it's a growing process, and we won this week, and you know, we were just trying to save our A game for next week, you know.
I'm sure you heard me. I'm sure you heard me ask Coach about the records. I mean, does it feel funny to you to know that even an average game for you, if you keep this up, you're going to break another one or two or three every game you play?
Well, honestly, I really don't keep track of the records, and I don't think about that too much. I go out each game and try to do my best and put the team in the best situation that they can be in order to win. And, you know, I feel like today we played pretty well. We did pretty well on third downs, converting on third downs. There's still some things that we can do a little bit better. But as for the records, that's something to look at after the season, but I don't go out there specifically looking at a record and trying to break it.
Did you ever look at it when you were being recruited here? Did you ever, you know, say I could be this or I could be that?
Not at all, you know, but no matter what I do, I want to be the best at what I do. And coming into this program, I had an opportunity, to put up some pretty good numbers. And I don't even think that I knew about the record until Tyler Thigpen said something about it. He mentioned it to me. We text every once in a while. He shoots me a good luck text. So personally, I'm not keeping track of that kind of stuff. I'll hear about it from other people and they'll ask me about it, but that's not something that's on my mind.
Talk about the running game today, and kind of what you saw from it.
Well, the running game was significant. I don't know how many yards we ran for. What was it, 200 something, 300? But D'Angelo did a great job. Andre did a great job. Those guys did a great job getting downhill and running really hard. And the guys up front, you can't give them enough credit. As they go, we go. That's what we say. And when they're doing their job, we take the praise for it. The quarterbacks and the running backs and the receivers take the praise for it. Those guys don't get enough praise for what they do down in the trenches. And so I'd like to give a lot of credit to the offensive line for today's rushing.
Was the option game something you felt like you could take advantage of because you really you all went to that a lot in the second half?
We went to it a little bit. There were some things that we saw where we could take advantage of it. When they're coming off the edge, they don't have anyone else outside. So if we get the ball, if we option the ball outside real quick, then, there's a seam where D'Angelo could go, and he made a big third down conversion with that. And just when we were running the ball out to the Sams, it just kept widening. So it turns in a quarterback zone, and I ended up keeping it a few times. So that play worked pretty well for us, but we didn't run as much option as we usually do. I didn't think so.
How many times did you practice that 2-point conversion play?
I think we've been running that since North Carolina A&T at practice, so it was finally nice to get it out of the bag.
Danny Rocco, senior quarterback Michael Strauss on the left, senior defensive back Reggie Barnett on the right. Coach Rocco will begin with an opening statement, then open up to questions for everyone. Coach
yeah,
Rocco.
really was impressed today with Coastal and how well they played and how physical they were. They controlled the ball really the entire game. I was very disappointed how we were unable to, slow down their run game. We went into the locker room at halftime. I think we had 51 defensive plays. And I knew that was a bad sign, heading into the second half. Offensively, we kind of sputtered. We were pretty much feast or famine. They did a great job of pressuring Mike and getting some hits on our quarterback. We made some big plays, but we were having to rely on the big play, I think, to really feel like we could generate any legitimate momentum in the game. Certainly didn't want to give up or give in there at the end, was committed to trying to get the ball back, get a stop, and try to add to our score, our point count. So my hat goes off to Joe and his team. They were very well prepared, very confident, and they performed at a high level. My team wore down a little bit, I felt today. I hadn't really felt that way maybe all year. It was a long season. It was a good season for us to find ourselves back into the postseason. So certainly was excited about that. Told our seniors, had 22 seniors in the locker room, and just made mention of how proud I am of what they've done for our program and for our university. And I think for our younger kids that are coming back, we recognize that we have to continue to raise the bar. At this time, we'll take any questions here from the media.
Coach, how big a factor do you think those penalties were early?
Wow, it didn't help. I mean, we never really could generate any legitimate momentum. I recognize I might have been a little bit over the top in some of my reactions, but all the same, I was really having a hard time understanding the rationale behind a couple of those. And I do think it gave them some momentum and some key moments in that first half. It appeared in that first half that the game was going to be back and forth and was not going to be a shootout. It really felt that way early on. So it did hurt our cause. I'm sure, a good number of those were legitimate and our kids were not doing what we're coaching them to do. But it seemed like all the 50-50 plays went against us today, and that's to their credit. They were a little sharper, a little more focused, and they also got the breaks in the area of those penalties on some of those 50-50 calls.
Michael, the rhythm just wasn't there offensively, and I'm assuming the pressure that they applied had a lot to do with it. Talk about the blitzes you saw today and how it might have disrupted you.
They did a real good job today. We got outplayed, flat out outplayed today. I didn't play as good as I could have, and it showed today. I missed a lot of throws that I make, and I got to do a better job getting the ball in my hands when there's pressure. A lot of times they were bringing one more than we were blocking, and I got to, that's on me. But it definitely disrupted the whole rhythm. It was either, like Coach said, real good a lot of times, and then when it was bad, it was bad. Sometimes we just couldn't get it going, and those times where we usually make a play on that third down just wasn't happening today.
Reggie, can you talk about defensively? It just seemed that St. couldn't stop the running game, and the short passing game hurt too.
Yeah, I thought early on we were doing a good job of answering sudden changes, and we made stops. But then we kind of didn't wrap up against a good back. He wanted to run hard and he wanted to score every play, and he showed that. And I'm not gonna knock our effort because I thought we all fought hard, but at the end of the day we didn't make tackles.
Man, tough time to look ahead with such a large senior group. How do you look ahead? Sort of how do you frame this whole thing?
Yeah, well, kind of one day at a time. But I think that a lot of guys got a lot of action this year. I think that's got a very talented group of kids returning. You look offensively, just about everybody that touched the ball today, other than this guy here, is coming back. Our running backs, our receivers, other than Ponder. So I'm very optimistic. We got 3 of our 5 offensive linemen back, starters. Very optimistic. I feel good about our quarterback situation, despite losing Mike. And then defensively, a lot of guys got a lot of action this year. I think that the interesting thing, John, is we kind of know what we need to shore up, and we're going to go find what we need. It's like anything else, there's a position or two that are going to need some attention here in the off season. We're going to go and address those things, and if we can address those areas, I feel real confident about our ability to be extremely competitive next year.
Danny, do you see the similarities between Alex Ross now and what Thigpen was in 2006 here? Does it stand out to you, having now faced both guys?
Yeah, I think coming down here today, I was even more impressed with him, his poise and his pocket presence, and then ultimately his ability to run the football. All year long in the tape that we watch, he's been good, he's been efficient, complete a high completion percentage, but I definitely see some similarities there, and I think there's a reason that this program was ranked as high as it was here this year at some stages. I probably needed to see it, to validate it in my own little world and to believe it. What I saw today validates the reality that it's a top 5 type of football team, and as always, your quarterback's got to be the guy that offers that type of presentation.
Coach, what was Coastal able to do in the second half offensively that they weren't able to do in the first half against your defense?
Yeah, they did a couple things a little differently in the run game, just in terms of how they attacked this base front that we were in. I thought they ran with a lot of power and authority in the second half. I thought in the first half they were kind of hunting and pecking a little bit to see what they can find. I think in the second half they knew exactly what they wanted to do. They changed the scheme or two. They ran a little option that they did not run in the first half that we had a hard time stopping. And hindsight's a beautiful thing, but in my world, I think they honed in on a couple of games that we played early in the year where we had some problems, and on both sides of the ball, it almost mirrored the game plan. And to their credit, that's the way to play us, and they were able to find those areas and have some success out there today.
Anything else?
All right, thank you.